Dr. Lyra Vance hadn't expected an audience when she powered up the gravity glove for its third field test. The Kepler 442b research station was supposed to be empty this cycle. Most of the xenobiology team had gone planet-side to study the tidal pools. But apparently, someone had left the nursery doors open, and now 7 fuzzy Quellan cubs were waddling around the observation deck like animated pom-poms. She sighed, adjusting the metallic apparatus that encased her right hand from fingertips to elbow. The glove hummed with barely contained energy, its graviton emitters glowing a soft blue. "You shouldn't be here," she muttered, though the cubs couldn't understand Standard. Their species wouldn't develop complex language for another 3 years of maturation. The smallest cub, Tovo, according to the tag on his collar, chirped at her and tumbled forward on stubby legs. His species resembled a cross between Earth's red pandas and cotton balls, with 6 limbs and eyes far too large for their round faces. Curious little things, the Quellans. Humanity had discovered them only 2 years ago, orbiting a star 13 light-years from Earth, and already they'd become the darlings of every xenobiologist in the sector. Lyra activated the glove's interface with a thought, her neural link translating intention into command. The graviton field flickered into existence around her hand, invisible to the naked eye, but perceptible as a subtle distortion in the air, like heat waves rising from summer asphalt. She'd been testing the glove's ability to manipulate localized gravity wells, trying to perfect the equations that would let humans work in zero-G environments, without the clumsy bulk of traditional equipment. She lifted a metal sphere from the table and focused. The gravity field responded, creating a miniature orbit around her palm. The sphere began to circle her hand in a perfect ellipse, held in place by forces that would have made Newton weep with joy. Tovo chirped again, louder this time. His large eyes tracked the orbiting sphere with an intensity that seemed almost calculating. "Just a simple demonstration of controlled gravitational manipulation," Lyra explained, despite knowing the cub couldn't understand. Humans had a habit of talking to animals' old instincts from when their ancestors had domesticated wolves and cats. Nothing that would interest a... Tovo jumped, not a normal jump. The cub launched himself into the air with all 6 legs, and instead of falling back down as physics demanded, he didn't. He hovered there, 3 feet off the ground, his tiny body rotating slowly as if caught in an invisible current. Lyra's breath caught. "What the other cubs noticed. Within seconds, 6 more fuzzy bodies had launched themselves skyward. And they weren't just floating, they were moving, positioning themselves at different distances and angles around Lyra, their trajectories creating a complex 3-dimensional pattern. They were orbiting her, like moons around a planet. Lyra's scientific training warred with sheer astonishment. She checked the glove's readouts frantically. The graviton field was still active, still centered on her hand. But the power draw had spiked, not from her input from outside. The cubs were somehow tapping into the field, using it to manipulate their own local gravity. "That's impossible," she whispered. "You don't have the neural architecture for..." Tovo chirped triumphantly as he completed a perfect orbit around her head, his trajectory carrying him through a figure-8 pattern that would have required calculus-level understanding of orbital mechanics. The Quellans were supposed to be pre-sapient, cute, curious, but ultimately simple creatures whose species wouldn't achieve spaceflight for millennia. Yet here they were, instinctively understanding and manipulating one of the universe's fundamental forces. Humanity had been so proud of the gravity glove. 3 years of development, the combined efforts of Earth's brightest physicists. And they'd created something revolutionary. Lyra had been selected to field test it because of her expertise in gravitational physics and her steady hands. And these cubs had learned to use it in under 3 minutes. She laughed, a startled, delighted sound that echoed through the observation deck. This was why humanity had gone to the stars. Wasn't it? To discover that they weren't special, that the universe was full of wonders that could humble even humanity's greatest achievements. To learn that other species could look at humanity's most advanced technology and think, "Oh, that's neat. Let me try." Tovo orbited closer, his trajectory tightening until he hovered just inches from Lyra's face. His enormous eyes reflected the blue glow of the gravity glove, and for a moment, She could have sworn she saw understanding in them. Not just animal awareness, but genuine comprehension. "You're going to change everything, aren't you?" she said softly. The cub chittered and executed a barrel roll that would have made any human pilot jealous. Lyra began recording data with her neural interface, her mind already racing through the implications. The Quellans had some kind of innate sensitivity to gravitational fields. They could perceive and manipulate them in ways that humanity, for all its technology, couldn't match naturally. This wasn't just a scientific curiosity, this was first contact with a species whose very biology interfaced with space-time differently than humans understood. The cubs continued their orbital dance, their movements becoming more complex and coordinated. They were learning, adapting, teaching each other through some form of communication that Lyra's equipment couldn't detect. Within minutes, they'd created a miniature solar system with her at the center, each cub maintaining its own stable orbit, while occasionally swapping positions with its companions. It was beautiful. It was humbling. It was so very human to create a tool for manipulating gravity, and then immediately have it co-opted by fuzzy aliens who turned it into a game. Lyra deactivated the glove slowly, carefully reducing the power to avoid disrupting the cub's concentration. One by one, they settled back to the deck, landing with the grace of creatures who'd been defying gravity for eons instead of minutes. Tovo was the last to descend, touching down directly in front of Lyra and looking up at her expectantly. She crouched down and extended her ungloved hand. The cub pressed his tiny paw against her palm, a gesture of trust that transcended species. "Humanity, fuck yeah," she murmured with a grin. "More like humanity. Meet your teachers." Tomorrow, she'd present her findings to the xenobiology team. She'd document how the Quellans had achieved in minutes what had taken humanity years to develop. She'd revolutionize their understanding of this species and probably win a dozen scientific awards. But tonight, she'd simply watch as Tovo and his companions played in the low gravity of Kepler 442b, natural masters of forces that humanity had only just begun to understand. The universe, Lyra reflected, had a wonderful sense of humor.